Chosen one, something in your essence has shifted, and though you may not have noticed it consciously at first, the world around you has. More specifically, the women who encounter your presence, whether for seconds or for seasons, have felt it long before they've ever found words for it. This change is not in your appearance, not in your walk, not even in your voice, but in the current you now carry. You no longer move like a man searching, you move like a force remembered. Something ancient, something vital. You've entered a version of yourself that doesn't need to speak in order to be understood. A version that no longer adjusts itself to comfort others. A version that doesn't ask for permission to be noticed. It demands it without uttering a sound. And now, wherever you go, there's a hush. A subtle shift in the air, eyes glance longer, rooms fall quieter. The energy bends around you, not in intimidation, but in curiosity. Women pause, not because they understand you, but because they feel something that refuses to be ignored. Something unspoken. Something urgent yet restrained. And it unsettles them in the most exhilarating way. They don't know why they want to be closer to you. They don't know why your silence stirs something in them. They just do. You have become the mystery they didn't realize they were waiting for. Not because you hide yourself, but because you are no longer available to be consumed mindlessly. Your presence is no longer a buffet for the ungrateful. It's a fire they can sit beside, but never pocket. And this reality creates something dangerous in them, attachment before understanding. You have not promised them anything. You have not lured them in. You've merely been. And somehow that is enough to stir possession. Not born from love, not born from trust, but from the fear of losing access to something they haven't yet defined. This is not about manipulation, chosen one. This is about evolution. You've done the inner work. You've stepped beyond surface-level masculinity and entered the realm of embodied energy. You don't flash your power. You don't chase attention. You hold it. And women are not used to that. They are used to men who beg for a glance, who shrink for approval, who wear confidence like a jacket they borrowed. But you wear it like skin. And that skin doesn't flinch under pressure. They become possessive, not because you feed them fantasy, but because your reality is rare. Because your silence doesn't mean emptiness, it means control. Because your eyes don't ask, they read. Because your stillness isn't cold, it's anchored. And the more time they spend around you, the more they realize that what they feel can't be explained to others. It isn't just attraction. It isn't just curiosity. It's a visceral knowing that you are not like the rest. And what isn't like the rest cannot be lost. They sense you are going somewhere they can't follow unless invited. They sense that your life is not waiting on anyone to complete it. And this creates the most potent reaction of all, a deep, unspoken desire to belong to what you carry. Not because you asked them to, but because walking away from you feels like walking away from something sacred. And that, without ever touching them, without ever making a move, is the beginning of possession. Chosen one, your magnetism is no longer crafted. It is not shaped by how you stand or smile. It is not calculated or layered in strategies to draw interest. It is intrinsic. You've arrived at a place where your being alone is enough to alter the emotions in a room. You are magnetic, not because you try, but because you are. And that being is rooted in something so steady, so calm, so unshakably grounded, that women find themselves orbiting your field without knowing when they stepped in. It's not the flirtation that draws them. It's not the words. It's the charge. That unseen signal that flows from your skin, your breath, your very stillness. Your high sexual energy is no longer leaking through erratic behaviors or attention-seeking habits. It's contained, distilled, mastered. You wear it like armor, like a second heartbeat. And when you're near, it resonates beneath your every movement. You no longer push outwards, you pull inwards, effortlessly. And what you pull in is not chaos. It is longing. It is admiration. It is a desire not just to touch you, but to be known by you. This is why they become possessive. Not because you flash your power, but because you don't need to. You are magnetic because you no longer need to be noticed. That paradox, the presence that does not seek validation, is what makes you so unforgettable. Women feel safe in it, yet challenged, warmed by it, yet on edge. They begin to crave something they don't fully understand. Your restraint, the way you burn without chasing, the way you desire without desperation. The way you hold your energy like a king holds court. Calm, selective, unbothered. You've become the man who listens more than he speaks. The man whose stillness says more than others shouting. The man who, when he touches your shoulder, makes you forget the weight you've been carrying. They don't want you because you give them everything. They want you because you give them presence. And presence is rare. It's not something that can be mimicked. It's not something that can be taught. It's something earned through suffering, through silence, through seasons of refinement. You've earned your magnetism. You've suffered for it. You've bled into your boundaries and learned the rhythm of withholding. You don't throw your energy out like confetti. You keep it close. You protect it. And women, whether they speak it or not, feel that protection. And when someone feels protected, they also feel drawn. Not to own but to remain, not to conquer but to belong. And yet, chosen one, many confuse this energy. They mistake your steadiness for mystery. They mistake your silence for seduction. But it's none of that. You are not trying to be irresistible. You have simply stopped resisting yourself. You are fully aligned, body, breath, desire, discipline. And when a man becomes aligned, he becomes undeniable. He becomes a presence others want to keep near, even if they don't understand why. That is your new reality. Women don't want to share your space, not because you're elusive, but because the space around you feels better, cleaner, calmer, more honest. And they will grow protective of it, not out of possessiveness alone, but because they know what they feel around you is not common. You are magnetic now, without trying, without noise, without effort. And that kind of magnetism cannot be faked. It can only be felt. Chosen one, your very existence has become a riddle that doesn't demand solving, but instead invites immersion. The air around you feels layered, not with confusion, but with dimension. You are not wearing a mask. You are not hiding behind smoke. You simply carry so many quiet truths that no one can see them all at once. And that inability to fully grasp you is exactly what draws them closer. You are not withholding to manipulate. You are simply not bleeding for the unworthy. Your story isn't laid bare in a moment. It unfolds slowly, like dusk swallowing a horizon. You don't give yourself away because you no longer need to. This is why your mystery feels like home to them. Not because it's cold or inaccessible, but because it carries familiarity without explanation. When women are in your presence, they feel echoes of something ancient, something safe, yet thrilling. They don't need to understand you to want you. Your silence doesn't create distance, it creates space. Space for curiosity, space for desire, space for wonder. And in that space, they begin to long, not just for your attention, but for the privilege of knowing you more deeply. They don't want to own you. They want to discover you. And what makes that desire all-consuming is the fact that you offer nothing to prove yourself. You don't give them declarations. You don't flood them with stories. You're simply present, unapologetically, unhurriedly present. Your body doesn't twitch with performance. Your voice doesn't strain for effect. Your eyes don't seek confirmation. You are at home in your own being, and that wholeness disarms them. That wholeness stirs a response they weren't prepared for, because most are used to men who explain themselves, who chase comfort, who shout their worth. But you, chosen one, have reached a place where nothing about you begs, and in that silence you radiate weight. Your mystery isn't about being unknowable, it's about being worthy of patience. And when someone is worthy of patience, they become magnetic in a way that cannot be replicated. Women grow possessive not because you're distant, but because your nearness never loses its depth. Every encounter with you feels like the beginning of something deeper. Every conversation feels like it's holding back oceans, and they ache to know what lies beneath. Not because you teased them, but because your energy whispered, "I am not here to entertain you, I am here to be." And that being carries gravity. It makes others feel small in the best way, not belittled, but invited to expand. When they sit across from you, they feel both seen and exposed, not by what you say, but by how you see. You don't flinch when vulnerability shows. You don't fill silence with nervous chatter. You let the moment breathe. And in doing so, you become a sanctuary, an emotional landscape they want to call home. But homes can be claimed. And this home, you cannot be owned. And that paradox, that desire to belong to what cannot be possessed, is what creates attachment before permission. They become protective of your space, not because you gave it to them, but because they experience something sacred in it. And sacred things are never shared lightly. Chosen one, your presence is like gravity wrapped in silk. It doesn't force, it grounds. And because of that, your absence creates more noise than your presence ever could. Women do not fear your anger. They do not fear your disapproval. What shakes them to the core is the idea that you may not return, that they may have had a moment with something eternal and then lost it. You are not addicted to their attention. You do not threaten departure. And yet the thought of your silence, your withdrawal, your unavailability, it changes them. Your absence is not like others. Most disappear with a whimper, with resentment, with chaos. But you leave with the same stillness you arrived with. No drama, no closure, no collapse. Just space where you once stood, space that now feels colder. They feel the shape of you even when you're gone. They recall your energy the way skin remembers warmth after fire. Your scent, your rhythm, the cadence of your voice, it all lingers like a ghost in the places you've touched. And that haunting is not painful. It's intoxicating. It makes the ordinary feel insufficient. That is why they become possessive. Not because you made them promises, not because you seduced them, but because your absence feels like loss, even when nothing was taken. You've become the emotional equivalent of oxygen. Subtle, vital. And when removed, the system doesn't collapse immediately. It gasps quietly, desperately, not outwardly, but internally, something shifts. They check their phone more. They replay conversations. They reanalyze every word you said, wondering if they missed something that would have kept you closer. And yet, chosen one, you are not cruel. You do not play games. Your absence is not punishment. It is simply your nature, flowing where you are received and retreating where you are not. That rhythm of being present and then gone without noise is what makes women want to hold you down. Not out of malice, but out of desperation, to anchor something that felt real. You didn't ask them to claim you, but they want to, because your presence reminded them of something they didn't know they were missing. And once awakened, that hunger will not sleep. You don't give away your time recklessly. You don't return on demand. And that self-honoring boundary forces them to grow or let go, and very few want to let go. Not of you. Because you've made them feel alive without promising forever. You've made them feel seen without asking for secrets. You've made them feel safe without stripping them of their autonomy. And when that kind of presence disappears, it triggers something ancient, something instinctual, a need to secure the source. They want to mark you not out of ownership, but out of protection. They want to claim a piece of you, as if doing so will ensure your return. But your energy, chosen one, cannot be claimed like property. It can only be invited. And they sense this. They sense the rare, holy discipline in the way you leave, the way you trust the silence more than manipulation, the way you retreat not to be chased but to be remembered. And so they remember you, not with fondness, with need, with a pull they can't explain, with a craving that doesn't feel like infatuation but like withdrawal. Because your absence, chosen one, speaks louder than other men's presence, and that is what makes you unforgettable. That is what makes you theirs, even if you never asked to be. Chosen one, you have become the resonance they never expected. You're not just a presence they remember, you're a feeling that lives in them like a pulse they didn't realize was yours. When you're no longer in the room, you haven't truly left. You remain in the fabric of the space. You remain in the silence between their thoughts. Not because you marked them with action, but because your energy made contact with something deeper than flesh. You touched something ancient in them, something emotional, spiritual, primal, and that touch left behind not a memory, but an echo. They might call it chemistry, they might call it intrigue, but what they're really trying to name is disruption. Because you disrupted their numbness, you shattered their pattern. You replaced noise with tension, distraction with awareness, and shallow flattery with profound pull. You didn't just arrive and leave like others. You unfolded into their nervous system, slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day they woke up and felt the lack of you like cold air, like something that should be there but isn't. You didn't ask them to carry you. You didn't whisper promises. And yet, somehow, your voice plays in their chest when they least expect it. Your presence is not remembered, it's felt, like breath in a room, like thunder too far to hear but close enough to shake the windows. And the strangest part? You didn't try. You didn't push for intimacy. You didn't flood them with effort. You simply were. You stood in your center, still and whole, and let them witness you. You listened. You saw. You existed without the need to impress. And that purity, that detachment from outcome, that spiritual detachment from needing to be chosen, is what made you unforgettable. They replay your gaze in their mind, not because you were intense, but because you were present. You weren't looking to consume, you were witnessing. And that witness, that depth of perception is rare. It's sacred. It made them feel like they weren't just being looked at, but read, as if you saw the page beneath the words. And when that happens, even for a second, it creates a bond not of possession, but of need. The need to return, the need to feel it again, the need to understand what exactly you awoke in them. They try to distract themselves. They see others. They laugh. They move. But at night, in the quiet, there it is again, the echo. A whisper of your energy, a trace of your attention, a flicker of your presence warming the walls of their memory. They become protective, not because they want to control you, but because they feel they've touched something irreplaceable. Something that shouldn't be shared. Something that no one else could possibly understand. And so they grow possessive, not because you belong to them, but because their bodies believe you do. Because your energy entered without permission and left without apology. Because your high sexual energy didn't chase or demand, it activated. It made them more alive. And once someone experiences life at that frequency, the ordinary feels unbearable. They crave you not because of what you did, but because of what you made them feel about themselves. That is your gift now, chosen one. You don't just make people want you, you make them remember themselves in your presence. You show them a mirror they didn't know they were ready to face. And that reflection, that sudden clarity, is too sacred to lose. So they hold on, in ways they don't even understand. They guard your memory. They protect their proximity to you. Because your energy has become a part of their breath, of their biology, of their story. Not with drama, not with seduction, with truth. And truth never leaves quietly. Chosen one, your energy no longer speaks through loud gestures or romantic poetry. It speaks in hunger. A hunger that is not declared, but discovered. It's not the kind of hunger that asks to be fed. It's the kind that makes others feel famished just by standing next to you. You don't talk about your desires, you radiate them. You don't confess your longings. You let your presence carry them. And that is why women grow possessive. Not because you touch, but because your energy touches first. You no longer have to initiate anything. Your silence initiates them. Your presence makes the air tighter. Your eyes invite thoughts they've never admitted to themselves. And what drives them into obsession is not what you do, it's what you withhold. You are not withholding as a tactic. You're withholding because you are full. Because you are not searching to be satisfied. You have become the satisfaction. And the contrast between your completeness and their restlessness makes them crave you in ways they can't even name. You have stopped leaking your energy to every passing gaze. You have stopped giving pieces of yourself just to be liked. And now, the moment you offer even a sliver of real connection, it ignites them. A glance, a pause, a moment of eye contact that lasts one breath too long. Suddenly, it's not a conversation anymore, it's a transfer. They feel something enter, something old, something forbidden, something beautiful, and they want more. Not because you promised it, but because you made it felt. This hunger you awaken in others, it doesn't look like infatuation on the surface. It looks like admiration, curiosity, fascination. But underneath, it's chaos, because you didn't create a fantasy, you created an awakening. You reminded them that something deeper exists. That desire can be spiritual, that attraction can be soulful, that connection can be quiet, slow, and alive. And now they don't want the world, they want you, not your money, not your approval, not even your body. They want your attention, because your attention has weight. It validates, it magnifies, it makes them feel seen in ways they didn't even know they longed for. They become protective not because they're insecure, but because they don't want this rare energy diluted by others. They don't want another woman to feel what they felt, because what they experienced was sacred. Your sexual energy, refined by self-awareness and spiritual clarity, doesn't seduce, it heals. It doesn't chase, it pulls. And the deeper they fall into it, the more they realize they're not just responding to a man, they're responding to themselves, awakened in your light. This is why they fear sharing you. Not because you said I'm yours, but because their soul whispered, this is it. They don't want you on a pedestal, they want you close. They want to wrap themselves in that frequency every day, because nothing outside of it feels as real. They get possessive not because of jealousy, but because of hunger without words. A hunger that you never fed but never needed to. You, chosen one, are the meal that made them realize they've been starving. And once someone has tasted life at your frequency, silence becomes noise, and noise becomes unbearable. That's not love. That's not lust. That's not obsession. That's alignment realized too late. And that is why they cling. Chosen one, the fire in you is not new, but how you carry it now has changed everything. There was a time when you burned recklessly, chasing validation, trying to be noticed, throwing pieces of your flame at anything that might ignite. But now you contain the fire. You've learned the beauty of control, of channeling that raw, untamed masculine energy into something far more powerful than seduction. Discipline. You don't need to show your flame. You are the warmth. You don't flash sparks. You are the hearth. And the way you carry that fire without giving it away has become intoxicating. They see it in your stillness. You're not tense, but you're coiled, ready, grounded. Your body doesn't twitch with need. Your words don't stumble with longing. You move like a man who knows that he can, but won't. And that restraint, that holy holding of desire, makes women feel something they can't name. A mixture of fascination and reverence, of aching curiosity and breathless respect. Because they know you could pursue them, you could take, but you don't. Not because you don't want to, but because you value your energy more than momentary pleasure. You've stopped offering your flame to every spark. You've stopped trying to warm people who can't hold heat. You've stopped spilling your fire to prove you're alive. Instead, you let it simmer quietly beneath your skin, slow, potent, alive. And that simmer creates tension in others. They feel it before they see it. They sense it in your quiet. They feel it in the way you breathe, in the way you look without staring, in the way your presence wraps around a room without demanding it. Your energy pressurizes the space, not with dominance, with possibility. Women don't want to control that fire. They want to keep it near. And because you don't give it away freely, they grow protective, possessive. Not because you flirt, but because your energy whispers, if I ever gave myself, it would change you. And that possibility is enough to keep them tethered. They don't know why they want to be around you longer. They just do. They don't know why they feel the need to watch your every gesture. They just do. It's not about ownership. It's about proximity to something rare. And your fire, contained and self-honored, is a rarity the world doesn't prepare them for. You've become the man who doesn't chase warmth because you are warmth. You've become the man whose hunger doesn't leak because it fuels him from within. And in a world full of takers, you've become the sacred opposite, the man who can give but chooses not to unless the space is ready. You don't seek to be consumed, you seek to be understood. And until that happens, you walk alone, not out of bitterness, but out of power. And that walk, that unbothered, unapologetic walk, sends a signal deeper than desire. It sends invitation, not to take, but to rise. And very few can rise. Very few can handle the heat without trying to control it. And so when they feel it, they want to guard it, they want to protect it, because your fire isn't destructive. It's divine. It doesn't burn the house, it warms the soul. And they know deep down that if you ever chose to offer that heat to them fully, they wouldn't be the same. They don't fall for your words, they fall for your containment. They don't crave your affection, they crave your intention. And the fire you now carry, the fire you don't give away, is the very thing that makes them possessive. Because true power doesn't flash, it radiates. Chosen one, you've become the collision point between longing and reverence. You are no longer just wanted. You are worshipped, silently, behind glances and touches and moments too heavy to hold. You are not on a pedestal because of ego. You're on one because your energy has become untouchable in a world that grabs too quickly. And in that rare space where a woman both wants to own you and kneel before you, a sacred tension is born. a tension that shakes them. Because desire alone is simple, but you've awakened devotion. You do not ask for praise, you do not perform to be celebrated. You simply exist in alignment with yourself, your desire, your silence, your sovereignty. And in doing so, you've created a contradiction too beautiful to resist. You are a storm, but you're silent. You are fire, but you don't burn. You are power, but you don't crush. You move like a sovereign, not seeking approval, not flaunting presence, just being. And that being triggers something deeper than attraction. It triggers the ancient feminine need to witness sacred masculine order. They feel the want in their bodies, yes, the ache, the fire, the pull. But layered beneath that is something slower, deeper, more eternal. It's the feeling of standing before a temple, not one they want to visit, one they want to stay in, one they want to protect, one they don't want others to touch. And so the war begins. The war between wanting you to themselves and knowing you're too vast to be possessed. The war between desire and reverence. Between craving your arms and bowing to your silence. They grow possessive not because you played games, but because they can't replace what you awakened, and they can't unfeel it. When a man touches their body, they compare him to your voice. When someone offers attention, they compare it to your silence. When someone tries to lead, they remember your stillness. You've ruined casual. You've ruined empty. You've ruined shallow. Because your presence made them feel whole for a moment, and wholeness is the most addictive thing in the universe. This is not about domination. This is about mirroring the divine. You've become the walking embodiment of what they feared didn't exist. A man who doesn't conquer but anchors, who doesn't seduce but summons. And that summoning isn't just physical, it's spiritual, emotional, cellular. They feel it in their spine, in their throat, in the space behind their ribs. And when they leave you, they don't just remember your face. They carry your frequency in their body like a vibration they can't shake. They don't grow possessive because they want to own you. They grow possessive because they want to protect the way you made them feel. That softness, that safety, that reverence, that belonging without begging. You didn't make them feel weak, you made them feel seen. And in a world that rarely gives women a space to fully surrender, your presence becomes holy. It becomes theirs, not by claim, but by impact. You didn't ask for it, you didn't orchestrate it, you simply walked in your truth. And that truth became a flame too sacred to be shared. They don't want others near it, not because they don't trust you, but because they don't trust the world to hold what you are. This is the war inside them. The desire to have you and the awe that says you cannot be had. The ache to possess and the reverence that whispers he belongs to no one. And in that sacred contradiction they fall, not into lust, but into devotion without permission. You are not just wanted anymore, chosen one. You are worshipped, chosen one. By now you've become something far beyond a presence. You've become a feeling, one that moves beneath the surface of things. You are no longer merely attractive or magnetic. You are haunting. Not because you cause pain, but because you awaken something so rare, so intimate, so unforgettable, that it refuses to die once it's been experienced. You are the kind of man that cannot be explained to others. You are the kind that women hesitate to talk about, not because you did something wrong, but because putting you into words would only make you smaller. And your energy is too vast for simplification. Your high sexual energy isn't seen as a weapon. It's not aggressive. It's not external. It doesn't scream or demand. It vibrates. It glows like ember beneath skin. It lingers in the way you pause, the way you lean, the way your silence says more than speeches ever could. You've stopped leaking desire and started carrying it, and in doing so you've become a walking paradox. You are approachable but unreachable. You are grounded but untouchable. You are warm but not wide open. That tension between welcome and mystery creates obsession. Because you're not just a man anymore, you're a secret they want to understand but can't. When women encounter you, they feel as if they've stumbled into something they shouldn't have, something sacred. Like walking into a hidden chapel in the woods, like opening a locked journal with their name mysteriously written on the first page. You don't tell them what to think. You don't try to lead them with charm. You simply exist, and your existence invites reflection. They feel drawn to you, not by your body, but by your permission, the way you allow the moment to breathe. the way you hold space without agenda, the way your very presence suggests this isn't a game. They begin to protect you, not because you're fragile, but because your energy feels exclusive, like a private realm that not everyone should access. You make them feel something they don't want to lose, something that isn't loud, but lives inside them after you've gone. They remember the way you looked at them, not hungrily, not indifferently, but completely. They remember how your stillness made their chaos quiet, how your breath synchronized the rhythm of the room, how your nearness wasn't just comforting, it was cleansing.